So hello and welcome. My name's Steve Nobel, and today I'm speaking with Ishala Wayshower on Born into Darkness, Birthed into Light. And Ishala is a light channel, supports healing, liberation, empowerment. She was born in a family which has a lineage of satanic worshipping. She was placed in a pedophile ring from the age of 3, experienced a certain amount of abuse, we should say, throughout her childhood. And during her quest to heal in adulthood, she found a spirit team who held the most knowledge and wisdom and tools and techniques to guide her to clear deep, complex trauma and release black magic programs. So, hi, Ishala.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for inviting me. This is my debut talking about my childhood and, in a way, why I do what I do now and in my work. And so thank you.
Well, thanks for coming, because it's a deep subject and I think it will benefit a number of people to hear it. Can you say something about your family? It's quite something, isn't it, to be born into a family of Satan worshipping? You know, that's quite something, isn't it? What was it like?
I think the thing is with kind of, you know, like you probably hear me refer it to the cult because that's how I see it. And I know there are a few people that are starting, you know, that have done, you know, it's a whole journey. You know, not only do you have to heal, but then, you know, you've got to overcome layers and layers of not only trauma, but also, you know, like it's not well known. It's, you know, there's a lot. It's quite taboo to talk about. You know, so you've got different kind of levels of satanic practices, I suppose. And then there's one in particular that you know, that's what I'm saying about the lineage, is what I call a bloodline. So that means generation after generation after generation. It's you know, they're born into this secret society, satanic cult. So it goes through the lineage, and it's very much like we know science talks about generational trauma being handed down kind of through the genetics. So there's a particular genetic disposition that particularly the satanic cult are looking for, because there's a whole reason. Right. Yeah, there's a whole reason why it exists, I suppose. I think if you've been kind of aware of this happening, you know, like people probably aware of devil worshipping, you know, that we know there's a few churches, especially in the US, that you know, that are out and proud. But this is slightly different. This is kind of like this very underground secret society. This is where they talk a lot about, you know, like all the elites and things like that. So you've got kind of the idea is, you know, I think most people have an idea about children being abused, you know, rituals, you know, deaths, you know, or, you know, kind of the adrenochrome, you know, all of these kind of things, which are really horrific, of course. However, there's kind of like a rhyme and reason, which is all about power and control. Yeah. And you know, there's something about I'm going to jump straight in and talk about being hosted, because that's really what this is about. It's about having this idea that we are part of a multidimensional reality, that obviously we're in the 3D and we have duality, which is light and dark, good and evil. And then you've got, you know, a contingent of the reptilians, you know, so you've got reptilian and draconian, and ultimately it's all about becoming hosted. So to, you know, to be a host for these beings. And that's where you've got the genetic coding that comes in, that's important to them. And that's why it becomes a bloodline and a generational thing, that they're looking for a particular way to access through trauma. And that's why the abuse happens. So the abuse happens through, because ultimately, as we know, as human beings, okay, that children hold so much light. right? They are the divine. They're, you know, like, just look at, you know, like you come across a baby just shines, right? And what it is that people that are around the satanic, you know, satanic worshipping, they worship the darkness. They're connected to the darkness. They're not connected to the light. So they need a source of connection to light, right? So children are the light, you know. And then you've also got kind of the sexual energy, you know. Why do we have tantric or even the kundalini energy, all that kind of stuff? It's the most potent energy that we have as human beings. Yeah. So you've got all of these components that you know, that come together, that why there's certain things, you know. It's not just about getting kicks and, you know, like all of the crazy stuff. And I think the other thing, just to add, you know, I talked about being human and the reptilians, is it's so important. I think one of the most poignant moments in my journey is when I recognized that my family and all of my experiences in the cult or in the ring, whatever you want to say, that they weren't human, even though they look human. And they're out in the world and they're doing their thing, and you know, most people wouldn't even recognize that. Is that a human being their intrinsic is love, compassion, empathy. Now these people that belong to satanic cults don't hold that. That's why they go to these extremes. That's why it's so shocking for, you know, everyday people to go, no, that can't happen, because no rational human being would ever think that, and someone would do that.
I know, it's a big leap of the mind, really. How did you leave? When did you leave, and how did you manage to leave?
So basically, it's only been recently, and it's not necessarily. So what happens again, you've kind of got all these different levels within the cult. And, you know, as I said, I was bloodline. So there's a particular trajectory that when you're born into a family, then they will put you in place. Do you know, one of the great, you know, I use movies all the time to explain things. One of the great movies is, I mean, it's quite an old one, but The Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah, I remember it. I was thinking of it the other day, actually. Yeah, for some reason.
Perfect. So, and how, you know, like he's like the mind control program, and he's been put in place. So you've got all of these layers and levels when you're born into it, because it's not just about what happens in the ring, you know, when, you know, the torture and the abuse and all the horrible things that you know, other people are sharing and accounting and hearing about. And yes, they are true. It's all of the other things that happen outside of it. So it's like every single thing is meticulously detailed for your life. So, you know, even now, and even though I've been doing a huge amount of work, you know, personally to heal, is that birthdays are really tricky for me still. And that's because they use birthdays, because you can't, so they basically want to break you down, so you are no longer human, so you are controllable at every level. So when you kind of ask me that question about when did I get out, I didn't really know I was even in a cult, which sounds so bizarre. But when you've got so many layers of trauma, and this is understanding trauma now. So to understand trauma, we have to understand the physical body, we have to understand the nervous system. Then we have to also understand kind of these mind control programs. Now, again, you know, most people are like, oh, I don't know, I think that's only for the movies. You and I know a lot of movies have a lot of truth in them, right? Good and bad. Some of it is like light workers trying to share the truth, and some of them are just, you know, like, say the cult members trying to go, you know, like, ha ha ha, look what we're doing in your in your face type of stuff, but the information's getting shared. So you've got, so it wasn't until there was a series of events that unfolded that basically it was literally in my face. And I didn't understand. I remembered the abuse first and the pedophile ring first before I remembered the satanic stuff. And actually, I didn't really even understand the satanic stuff. I just thought it was all pedophile ring and all that, and so it was only, and the way that trauma works, and this is also why you find that a lot of people aren't coming forward to share their stories, is first of all, they've got to access their memories. Now, when we understand, if you do any kind of work, like there's lots of people coming out, kind of with science about trauma and about how trauma, how we don't hold memory. So in a moment when we're going in fight or flight, and even a child in those situations, you can't fight because they're adults, and and you can't run away. So what happens, you have to go into a disassociated state, right, to survive. So you leave your body. But what happens is your body then goes into a series of survival mechanisms, and the one thing that it doesn't need is memory. It doesn't need to imprint that experience right now. But the thing is that memory still exists. It's just that you don't access it like a file, like you and I are saying, oh, do you remember the movie the Manchurian Candidate? So that's a memory. I've watched that movie. So you've got that now they also you're drugged. Have you watched see, I told you I was going to bring up all the movies or TV series. Have you watched the OA? Yeah. So do you know when they're all locked in their cells and they're being given the gas, scolmolpamine, I can't say it properly, but so basically that is what's used. So you take direction, but you have no memory of it. So you've got to be able to have certain levels, and like, this is why I say, and I trust my spirit team or my star team 1,000,000%, and I trust the universe, because there have been so many times that the universe has set up certain scenarios for me to be triggered. And then for me to access a memory. And so what happens is that even, we're saying about the memories, that the body, like, we know that there's an amazing book called The Body Keeps the Score, right? The body holds memory. So if I share one particular incident, and it was my daughter's 5th birthday party, and we had it at a place that, like an event, like a place where they, people come and they do games and things with the kids. And there was all these small tables and chairs, and the kids were around and the food was being shared out. Anyway, she'd started a new school. So there was some new families that were there. Anyway, so the party was fine. And then there were some adults, some parents standing in the corner, and they were whispering to each other. So all of those things, you think, oh, okay, so small tables, juice was being handed out, pizza was being handed out, people kind of being a bit strange, having private conversations. By the end of that party, I got in the car, and I was just really, I was shaking. I was really agitated, and I knew something had gone on. So first of all, you try and rationalize it. Or maybe it was because, oh, did that go wrong, or did that go wrong? But by the time I got home, I knew that my body was reacting to something. So what I then do, and this has been a series of trial and error in my journey, is that then I have to sit with it, and I have to really go in, and so what got triggered was my 5th birthday party. Remember, it's no coincidence I was talking about birthdays. That my 5th birthday party turned into what I call pedo party.
Right.
So it was the first time I was raped. It was when I was 5 at my birthday. And so as an adult and you know, like, so we can see that the universe set that up perfectly. And even though that's really traumatic, and what happens is that, and it's with anyone that's got trauma, certain things trigger us, and then the body goes back into that loop. So we think it's happening again.
Yeah.
The emotions come up, we think it's happening again. But this is where I always go, this is why I kind of underpin everything that I do on my journey, and also now, you know, that's what I do in my work, is that we have to go to the soul perspective. We have to know that we are more than just this experience we're having in this body. Because I know my inner child would never have healed from that trauma, because she would never understand. No child or no human understands it. So we have to go to that soul perspective. And that's kind of what I was saying about when we start looking at things from a multidimensional perspective. We go, okay, these are reptilians, they're not human. And talking about another series which I love, which depict it beautifully, the V series. Yeah.
I've seen both series, the old one and the new one. Yeah,
I've only seen the new one, but it's perfect. And it's also perfect about, I mean, obviously you're not cutting them, you know, like we're talking about a vibrational energetic, you know, so it's the same as, you know, like mediums, you know, can say, yeah, you know, Grandma Jones is standing beside you and see them clear as day, and someone else that's not goes, oh, I don't know if you're making that up or not. So if you have that ability to see, you know, in the multi dimensions, you know that these beings exist, right? But yeah, so, and that depicts it beautifully about how satanic cult is in every single nook and cranny, every single profession, every single you know, they're not just in the elite, they're everyday people.
Right. Crazy. Can I ask you, now you've kind of been on your healing journey, and I'm assuming you help clients, some of them with this issue. Do you have a sense of those energies around clients' energy field? Can you feel them, sense them? Can you have a feel, and can you help clients release them? Is that what you do?
That's a big question. What I find is, because I hold the blueprint of healing it's held now in my energetic field, you know, like, so I have a pathway, if you like. And what I find is that I do have clients, they come to me for healing, you know, like, so I work with people from on every aspect. Mainly people that have tried lots of different levels of healing, whether it's physical and gone down lots of routes and haven't found the solution. I tend to work with people there. But what I do find is that people are drawn to come and work with me, but they don't remember, they don't access their memories, and that is not something that you can awaken in them. It has to happen organically. You know, like, so I wouldn't be, if someone came to me and I knew that that's part of their history, I would ask certain questions that would give me confirmation of it. And then I just have to wait until they're ready. But yeah, I mean, it's very complex, because you've not only you're working on trauma at a cellular level in the body, you also have to work with the inner child, right? Because most inner childs are full of shame, right? Full of self-hatred, full of self-loathing, disconnected, you know, like just, you know, like an abused child, right?
Yeah.
So, and that, just because you're an adult doesn't mean that goes away. That is the core of it. And then you've got the black magic, the satanic magic.
Well, let's ask you about the black magic. is that something you have really had to consciously shake off?
Oh, sweetheart, you can't shake that stuff off.
How do you deal with
it? Yeah. So you have to first understand it, right? So if we understand everything is vibration and everything is energy, so they're using pretty advanced techniques. However, if you're a starseed and you're connected to amazing beings like the Arcturians, right? You have to go above. So it's I love that quote, and I'm not going to say it word for word because I never remember it, from Einstein, which says wherever a problem's created, you've got to find the solution at a different
high level.
level.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. You always got to go to the higher level. And so you've got to you've got to work with the fear. Now, we could definitely do a podcast just on reptilians. But it's really about understanding the fear. So, and that's another thing that they do with children, is they instill the fear. So there's many there's many times that really I should have died. I shouldn't have survived, but I survived. But they instill a program that if you die, then your soul it gets taken by the devil, and you will try everything you can to make sure that your soul doesn't get taken by the devil, so you will survive.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I know the Arcturians fairly well, and I know that when it comes to reptilians, the Arcturians are probably the best ones to call upon, actually, because reptilian energy, it seems to me, is the most intense energy that I've felt. I mean, there are other dark races, but they seem to be here on the planet. They're kind of here. They've got bases, or they've got whatever they're doing.
Yeah. And it
seems to me that they are connected to governments. I mean, I just have that feeling that, and a lot of channels talk about it, that the governments are aware, and they are, and I would imagine that even a lot of politicians have these energies in their energy field. Some of them they look like, for example, the current American president doesn't look like he's real. I don't know if he is real. I don't know if he's got reptilians in him, but he looks like is he really there? I don't really know. And so I wonder, all these power centers. And I guess power is what attracts them, and they'll be there, whether it's military, religion. Of course, religion has a pedophilia problem, or Catholic Church particularly.
Yeah, that's my family lineage. Yeah, so you've got, so in the satanic cult, to me, there's different tranches, if you like. So you got the Catholic Church, you got military.
Yeah.
You've got kind of like the elite, which is all kind of like the Hollywoods, like people in power.
Yeah.
And you've also got kind of the Freemasons.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm not saying that anyone that's connected to those things are all bad, because they're not. And here's the thing. Here's one thing. If people take one thing away from this, I want to tell you this. There is more good people in the world than there are bad. There is more light in the world. But what happens is that the cult has got really in, right? And if we step into the ascension, and what all of that is about, is actually the satanic cult is helping us. The reptilians are helping us.
Yeah.
Because, and I say that, and most people are probably scratching their heads going, what the heck are you talking about, Ishala? The thing is that for us to evolve and ascend and to shift our vibration from 3D density to 5D, right? We are evolving out of the reptilian part of our brain, which is the flight fight. It's the nervous system. We're not going to need that in the 5D, because we're heart-centered. We're love and light ultimately. So we're not going to have to run or fight anyone. Now we have to transcend, if you like, our fear. And you're talking about the reptilian or the draconian, or if anyone's even having psychic attack and all that kind of stuff. The one and this is what I say, I especially when I cut or connection with my family, that's when my healing could really happen, because you've got something called cognitive dissonance. You can't pretend that you can't think that you're part of a family and family means love and care and attention, and then go, hang on a minute, I was put in a pedophile ring when I was 3 and I've been abused, and all that. How they don't match. So once you were that, and that was kind of like Pandora's the lock to unlock it. Once you go, actually, this is my truth, then you can start accessing everything else, because belief systems are so strong. I just want to loop something in there about belief systems and reptilians, and this is a really really great piece of information that people who, if they've ever come across reptilians in their journey, is that reptilians, they have a special technology, if you like. What they do, they scan your energy field. So Steve, right now, if a reptilian was going, I want to cause some havoc in Steve's life, they scan your energy field. They look for a limiting program.
Yeah.
A self-limiting belief. It might be, I don't know, I'm scared of water.
Yeah.
Or whatever, or I want to be broke. I don't want to be broke, or whatever that is, or I can't be loved. I can't find a fulfilling partner. And all they do is send energy into that, and it amplifies and amplifies and amplifies. So then we become within our own, we become our captors. We just sit back and watch. Yeah. Right, because we become then in our own thoughts and our own processes, we beat ourselves up, we then lower our vibration. So what when we're working, or when we're coming across reptilians, and this is what I was saying about actually they're serving us right now, is it's giving us this opportunity to see where we're limited, to see where we're fearful, because ultimately if you can truly stand in your light and truly stand in your power, then they can't do anything. But it's the moment so I used to have full manifestations in the night of reptilians and draconians, petrified, scary, especially when you're asleep, and then the next minute, or they're whole, like loads of stuff. Anyway, there was a teaching that Matt Kahn, I'm sure you're familiar with him, did ages ago, a couple of years, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, about darkness. Yeah. And I sat with it and sat with it and sat with it. And it was about knowing that you are the light. And so what started to happen is when they showed up, I first of all, I'd get the fright because you're asleep, and the next minute you've got this being. And then I started to recover, and then I would say, I am the light, how can I help you? Do you know what happened? They disappeared. Yeah. Disappeared. So now it's about knowing our light, knowing our strength, and knowing that every time we get triggered, every time there's a limitation, every time there's a fear, oh my God, thank you, there's something for me to work on. Because this is what the ascension process is about. It's about clearing the levels and layers, not just this lifetime. We're getting to what I call karma neutral. So it means every single experience we've ever had. Most of us light workers and star seeds have said, yeah, I'll clear out the ancestral links and the baggage. I'll take that on, right? That's why our lives are it can feel so challenging, especially as we're going through layer after layer. It's like we come up for a breath and then we're on the next level. But this is what the ascension process is that each layer we're letting go of, we're becoming lighter and lighter. We're becoming more and more resourced.
Brilliant. Wow, it's a lot for people to take. It's brilliant. Thank you. Can I just mention your website so people can find you? It's ishalawayshower.com. I'm going to stick a link with this podcast. And before we close it, can you just let people know what you're up to these days? What are you doing? And how can people find you apart from the website?
Yeah, so I just I relaunched in October. So I just kind of stepped forward, and obviously now I'm just starting to talk more about my story because I've integrated a lot of the healing process myself. So now it becomes a story, because obviously if we're talking about our trauma and it's really emotional, then it's not integrated. It's still painful. So
Yeah.
but what I now know is that I have to step forward to share this, and it's uncomfortable. I don't want to. I was much comfortable of being the channel, the light language channel, like the soul reader, the healer. I'm really comfortable with that, and that's after being in investment banking and corporate, right? But now I know that I have to really help people understand the journey that I've been on through trauma, and really helping people kind of access their own soul and their own gifts and their own understanding. And I'm doing a mentorship actually, which I've run before, which is actually also there's an aspect of that about darkness, because I know a lot of light workers feel or don't know about darkness. It's scary, but it's just really a helping understanding, and it's the knowledge. Once we understand something, then that gives us power, right? So so the mentorship starting at the end of this month, but also I do free meditations every now and then. They're channeled like your amazing meditations. So YouTube. I haven't been doing too much on that, but I definitely want to step up and do that. So
I think maybe a book could be coming one day.
Time and space for whenever that is. Yeah.
Well, Ishala, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I appreciate it.